You're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. To a deadly police shooting in Chicago over the weekend, just a day after Christmas. The family of one of the victims killed just filed a lawsuit against the city of Chicago. The father of Quintonio LeGrier alleges not only did police have no reason to shoot his son, but that the officer who fired did not even try to give any medical care to the 19-year-old young man who, according to this lawsuit, was still alive after he was shot. The suit adds that the father himself was forced from the scene as his son lay dying, and the father was detained for hours under police questioning. Now, police say officers were dealing with a, quote, a combative subject when Quintonio LeGrier was killed, and they admit they accidentally killed 55-year-old Betty Jones when they were targeting LeGrier. The father of Quintonio LeGrier, I have Antonio LeGrier, joins me now along with his attorney, Bill Futris. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me, and Mr. LeGrier, to you specifically, I am so sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Ms. Brooke.
Let me just begin with you talking a little bit more about your son. I know Quintonio, I understand he ran a marathon for charity, helping raise money for children in Africa. He was an honors engineering student in college. Can you help us get to know him a little bit more?
At this point, Ms. Brooke, he was everything you just spoke of and more. He was a kind, generous son who always contribute nothing but the utmost respect for all people. His age, older, he was the model kid, you know, wasn't perfect, but he was that type of kid that would respect anyone of authority. And he was a great son, the perfect son for me. He was the great son. He worked with me. I have my own business. He worked with me, and I developed him to be an independent son, and he was a great son.
Can you now take me back to Saturday? You were the one who called police on your son.
Yes.
Can you first just tell me why?
I heard a loud bang at my bedroom door, and I can only assume it was my son because only him and I was in the house. And when I thought about it, I was asleep. When I woke up and I thought about it, after a second banging on the door, I received a phone and called the police department because I wasn't equipped with being able to understand how to deal with my angry son at that time, because I figured the police would know better how to handle an angry situation that my teenage son was going through. So I called the police.
Can I ask you about that without, divulging personal information? When you talk about, your son was angry, you told the Chicago Sun-Times that he had some anger issues, emotional problems. When you, just knowing that, as you would, as a father would know about his son, did you relay that when you called 911?
At this point, I can't remember what I said exactly, and I know that when the call was made, I had just been awoken from a sleep, so I'm not sure exactly what I said, and at this point in time, I can't remember.
Okay, so you know that your son, you believe he has this bat, he's banging on your door at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you're aroused from sleep, you call your neighbor, Betty Jones, essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, but saying, listen, I'm calling police, let them come in when they arrive. Tell me what happened once police arrived at your home.
Well, Ms. Brooke, in all fairness, I was in the bedroom, and after calling 911, I called Ms. Jones to indicate that there was some noise in the house and that she was not to open her door because I'm not sure exactly what was going on while I waited for the police to come. I only did it out of concern for her and her family's safety.
And then police arrive, and what happened?
I heard a noise, which was a voice saying, whoa, 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 to my knowledge. I can't accurately remember, but it was along those lines. And I proceeded down the staircase from my apartment on the second level. And as I got a quarter of the way down the staircase, I heard gunshots. I stopped at that point in time because I didn't know for sure where those shots were coming from. And after that, the gunshot stopped. I proceeded further down the stairs, displaying my hands, indicating that I'm sorry, Miss Brooke.
No, I'm
indicating
sorry.
I'm so sorry, give me 1 second. Indicating that I was the father and I was the one that called. And when I got to the bottom of the steps, I noticed the lower torso at first of someone in a stance in the grass. I did not know clearly if he was an officer or who he might have been. And as I got to the bottom of the stairs on the landing, I recognized someone standing there, dark hair, light skin, Spanish or perhaps Caucasian race. And I noticed the gesture. I can't believe it. I thought he was coming at me with that bat. F, the word F, no, no, twice was yelled. I proceeded to look to my right, and I saw my son laying there. And I saw his legs, and he was approximately 3 feet inside Miss Jones's doorway. And I wanted to reach down and grab him, but I wasn't trained in CPR or anything, so I didn't know exactly what to do except call out to him to let him know that I was there. Because my son, please forgive me, Miss Brooks. My son was laying there, and he was still alive and moving. And no one at all assisted him at any time while he was there. And at which point I looked back and saw Miss Jones laying there. And once again, yelled, screamed as loud as I can. Someone get an ambulance. Someone to help my son. That's all I could think to say. At that time, an officer approached me and asked me, was anyone else in the unit upstairs? And I replied no. And he walked past me and he went into the unit. And I proceeded to continue to stand there and request an ambulance assistance or some police assistance to assist my son. Because I know he's still alive. I see him moving, but no one would reply to help my son or Miss Jones. And at this point, an officer approached me and asked me, What's going on? Calm down, calm down. And I replied, that's my son. Get him some assistance. And no one did anything. Once the paramedics approached the porch, they proceeded onto the porch. And I look back in the hallway and I see them dragging my son out, not to roll him over to give him a CPR, but just to pull him out and put him on the gurney and roll him away. No one administered CPR at any point. No one. At this point, I didn't know what to say or what to do as I saw my son and Miss Jones be rolled away with no one assisting him. I begged, I plead that they assist them with CPR, yet no one assisted them at all. And all I can do was say, why my son? And everyone's looking at me. And all I can think is, why did this have to happen? I don't know why. I don't know.
I cannot even begin to pretend to understand what it is like to walk in your shoes right now. I am so sorry. After Christmas, to lose your child, this, your neighbor, this 55-year-old woman who opens the door, she ends up getting shot accidentally. Police have acknowledged that. I want to give you a minute and just doing my job and my due diligence. If I may, just part of. No, please. do not apologize, please. But let me just make sure this is what Chicago police say. The responding officers were confronted by, this is quoting them, a combative subject resulting in the discharging of the officer's weapon, which fatally wounded 2 individuals. The 55-year-old female victim was accidentally struck and tragically killed. The department extends its deepest condolences to the victim's family and friends. So that is from the Chicago Police Department. We know they're going to do this independent review. And let me just get to this wrongful death lawsuit, sir, filed 2 days after your son was killed. Can you tell me, this is to either of you, if you want to take a minute, Mr. LeGrier, tell me why.
You know, first I want to address the fact that there's this information out there about a combative subject. What we know is that, as you just heard, Quintonio was inside the building when he was shot, and the police officer who shot him was outside the building 20 to 30 feet away. So this is just after the fact justification trying to justify what happened. The facts don't bear that from what I understand occurred. As far as the wrongful death lawsuit is concerned, I think it has to be filed to find out what truly happened.
This just doesn't seem right. Let me ask the two of you.
I agree.
I don't feel
think
right
Antonio
doing this
needs
live.
some time.
Forgive me. Let's take a break.
No,
We'll be right.
Ms.
We'll be right back.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Brooks. Thank you.
Take a break.
So, hi everybody, my name is Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you consider it your YouTube page also. So, this guy with his son getting killed, you know, you have to ask yourself, if you had it all over to do again, would you call the cops? And of course you wouldn't. So you might want to keep that in mind next time you have to call the cops, right? Which is really, really sad that that's the state of America, that you have to think twice before you call the cops, because they're liable to do as much damage as what it is you're currently afraid of, or more. So, that being said, you know, this guy, he's telling the same story that we've seen over and over again. The cops injure people and then let them bleed out. They probably could have saved both of these people, and instead of doing their job, protecting the public, getting down there and saying, okay, it's no longer a dangerous situation, now we got to try our best to save these guys. Both of them, neither one should be dead. Neither one of them should be even hurt. I mean, maybe hurt the guy taking the baseball bat away, but come on. You know, and this is what we've seen over and over again, is they injure people like Eric Garner. You know, they crush his windpipe so he can't fucking breathe, and then they refuse to give assistance to help keep him breathing until they can get him medical treatment. They just go, hey, let's all stand around and high-five each other. Hey, we murdered another nigger. All right. Yeah, baby. That's bonus money. I'm going to Disneyland. Remember the guy that killed Eric Garner? He's 5 minutes after he killed Eric Garner, cameras on him. He's waving like this, big smile on his face, waving to the camera. You know, he might as well have been saying, I'm going to Disneyland. Paid vacation for me. Yeah, baby. Absolutely nothing. Ground jury found absolutely no reason to charge him. Okay, so just wanted to point that out. This is a pattern, and you should probably think twice before you call the police these days. You guys already know that, I know. Doing a fundraiser asking for help. Keep Mox News strong through 2016. Every little bit helps. I can make a lot happen with a trickle. So if you can trickle down on me a little bit, that would be wonderful of you. Been here for 10 years now, and who knows what the future holds. But hopefully we'll be here together when one of these days this war is going to end. Till that day, stay cool. Here's the second part of that interview with the guy's dad.
And we're back with an incredibly emotional and exclusive interview here with the father who just lost his 19-year-old son over the weekend in Chicago in this police-involved shooting. The father is Antonio Legrier. His son was Quintonio, an honor student in college, age 19, shot and killed Saturday, the day after Christmas. His attorney joining us, Bill Futris. So we're back. Just wanted to give you both a moment. And where we left off, gentlemen, and I appreciate you staying with me, where we left off was just asking about this wrongful death lawsuit. I want you to explain to me, because as I read it, according to the wrongful death lawsuit, Mr. Legrier, your son, quote, did not present any danger or threat of harm to anyone immediately preceding the aforesaid shooting. So then why call police in the first place? I'm just trying to understand.
Antonio already explained. The whole purpose was to get help. He felt that the police was better equipped and trained in order to deal with an angry teenager. He just gotten woken up. And that's the purpose. That's what you're supposed to do. When you need help, everyone's told you call the police. And that's what he did. He certainly didn't expect that his son would be shot and killed. So,
Mr. Legrier, I know a moment ago you were explaining as best as you could, you know, your anger, your sadness, your frustration in seeing your son shot on the foyer floor, wanting paramedics to attend to him. And I understand you were pulled away in that moment to be questioned. Is that correct?
Yes, I was. I was first questioned inside the apartment. Then I was taken from the building to the police station.
and he was required to stay there until they were done questioning him.
I was concerned about my son. I did not know the status of my son, whether he was alive or deceased. I was denied for up to 8 hours to even leave the building, to even find out any information about the well-being of my son or Miss Betty Jones. I feel like I was robbed of everything. I mean, I don't mean to be so emotional, but of course you see the gravity of this situation. I feel that everybody took everything from me and told me I got to sit in a room and answer questions about something that happened so fast that it's just unbelievable that I had to sit there and not know the fate of my son and Miss Jones. And all I wanted to do was help everyone in the building. And I didn't know.
It's particularly unfeeling. They knew he was the father of the person that had been shot, one of the people that were shot. And they required him to sit in a conference room in a police department and answer questions. So that's not something you should be doing. At the minimum, you should allow this father to grieve before you start questioning him. And the investigation started off on a bad foot, and it's a shoddy investigation from what I know. As a matter of fact, they still haven't even finished the forensic investigation. And I got a call today from the Independent Police Review Authority. They want to go back to the scene to conduct a forensic investigation. Why didn't they do that before? There have been reporters all over there. There have been press conferences over there. It's been trampled. And you haven't gone there yet to conduct a forensic investigation? Why wasn't this done before anybody was let in? I think the answer to that is... I can't speak to the forensics
of it, but I understand your questions are valid questions. And to Mr. Legrier's, you know, the question being why, do either of you know, is there any kind of video, any video that exists of what happened that you all know of?
What I can tell you is there are half a dozen houses surrounding the home that all have video cameras pointed in various directions. And what I've been told is that the police went to these various homes and confiscated and took video from these various homes. So there's certainly video of something. Whether it depicts the actual shooting or not, I don't know. The Chicago Police Department now has all that video as far as I know.
Okay.
So, and they haven't released it, certainly.
Okay, because that will obviously be a piece of this as well. Mr. Legrier, I don't have to tell you this, you know that your son's death comes at a time of deep frustration and anger and sadness over this in this country over officer-involved shootings, and not just in Chicago but elsewhere as well. Right around this time yesterday, we were sitting in this same seat talking about Tamir Rice in Cleveland, who, just yesterday, the grand jury result was that they will not be charging criminally either of these officers who were involved in his shooting and his death. And I had a New York Times opinion columnist and a father, Charles Blow. He called in the show and he was, very just authentically, just emotional, asking this question: what are we supposed to tell these parents who are losing their children? And you, sir, are one of those parents now. How would you answer that question?
Well, Ms. Brooke, one of the things I think we need to do, and I say it from my heart, we need to get more involved in our kids' lives, or in some cases, our parents' lives, in some cases, our grandparents' lives, because people have issues and sometimes it's hard to talk about, and we just push them aside and go on with our day-to-day. And sometimes they just need to be told, I'm loved and I need to be loved, and be able to express themselves. And that'll help. That's a start. Quite naturally, no one expected the Chicago Police Department to just start shooting into a doorway where a young man may or may not have had a weapon when the door opened. Maybe it was an inexperienced officer who wasn't trained on how to respond to these situations. I'm not sure what it is. All I know is right now, 2 innocent people are dead because the officer made a decision that was not the right one. And I'm doing this interview in the lawsuit so no one can just walk away and sweep it under the rug, because my son's life would not be in vain. I need the nation to know that I, Antonio Legrier, father of Quintonio Legrier, raised a good son that went to school and provided good grades and had a beautiful future in front of him, that was snuffed out by inexperienced officers that is obviously running rampant throughout the United States. And we need to put a hold on this, and it's not our place to do it. All we can do is work within the household and teach our children to obey authority, and hopefully they won't get shot. I mean, I can only say that this time because this, in my case, is what my son did. He got shot. Now, I wasn't there when the firing was done, but I was there after, and I saw the officer response that he was, in fact, sorry. And I'd like this time to say my condolences to go out to his family, Ms. Jones's family, and my family, because this don't just affect one side of it. It affects everyone. That officer knew he was wrong. He knew he was wrong. And he showed emotion about that. And I can't put myself in his state of mind at this moment, but I'm sure he's hurting as well, because he has to live with the fact that he shot blindly into a doorway without thinking about who or what he would hit. I hear this comment about Ms. Jones all over the place as a victim, and I do understand and I respect it wholeheartedly. But I'm a father. I'm a victim. My son is a victim of someone that made a mistake from the Chicago Police Department that just shot wildly into a doorway. And no matter which way it turns out, we can never bring Ms. Jones nor Quintonio Legrier back. But I want to be the first one to say, I am now his voice. I'm his voice. I'm all he got to tell his story. And I called the police department because I wanted someone to try to help him with whatever he was going through, because I was not trained. But I never once thought that once he entered that staircase, that his life would be ended by someone who didn't know what to do. Now, in this case, my only son is gone, and I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. I'm doing the best I can.
I think Brooke, I think Antonio's had enough.
I think he has. I appreciate your voice. There are no words. Just, I'm sorry. Antonio Legrier, thank you. Bill Futris, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you,
We'll be right back.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.